So my name is Anthony Carter. I've been in public service for the better part of my entire adult life, having executive roles in the New York City Police Department, Suffolk County Police Department out in Long Island, New York, and the village of Southampton, which many of you may know as the Hamptons. But before I took a career in public safety, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. And to be honest, don't want to brag, but I have the mic, so I'm just going to for a second. I was pretty good. I played out at a small high school out in Eastern Long Island. I was a left-handed pitcher, and I was good. But unfortunately, I went to college, and then I realized I thought I was good. And it was really the first or second start in my new college career that I realized I'd better find a career and find one quick, because baseball was not where I was headed. There was actually some balls that were hit so far and so long that here we are 30 years later, and I don't know if some of those balls have actually landed yet. So at the age of 20 years old, I enrolled into the New York City Police Academy and started my career in public service. It's been a very rewarding career for me. It's allowed me to address a lot of the digital and physical challenges throughout some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the digital threats that we're seeing among family offices and just kind of as a whole as to what we're seeing. And then I want to go through some of the physical threats and what's the intelligence landscape. What are we seeing in today's day and age when it comes to physical threats? And then finally, I want to talk about executive protection. What is it? What is it not? And how can we use it to use both in the digital and physical age? So let's get right to it. Digital threats. On a global scale, what we're seeing right now is we're seeing $9.5 trillion. That's what it's going to cost the world in cybercrime this year. And over the last 10 years, that number has tripled. So we were seeing $3 trillion just 10 years ago. And 75% was the increase in the third quarter of 2024 from the year prior. Now that's a huge number, and it jumps off the page. But really, with the way that cyber criminals are using AI today, really bad criminals, when we think about criminals that really couldn't even figure out how to turn on a computer, are now actually moderately okay at committing cybercrime. And average cyber criminals got really good at it. And expert cyber criminals, they're innovating and creating new ways that they can infiltrate and compromise computer systems. When we drill down into family offices, this stat, almost half around the world have seen a cyber attack over the last 12 to 24 months. And the primary target for family offices is right here in the United States. Here's another stat. 25% of those here in the United States have had 2 or more attacks in that same time period. And of course, the stat on your right, you see $1 billion. That's assets under management, family offices. Obviously, 62%, they're going to where the money is, and they see cyber criminals that they know assets under management over $1 billion is far more likely to be attacked. 31%. So now I just want to talk a little bit about cyber and incident response plans. What are we seeing? Having been victim to one of the largest ransomware attacks against a government municipality in our nation's history, I can tell you that it's not if, it's when. And the concerns that we're seeing among family offices, that 31% lack an incident response plan. And I can tell you once again, it's everything. Having a response plan, it's everything. And then 43%, they have a plan, but the vast majority of them said it could be a little bit better. When we look at high net worth individuals, what we're seeing in terms of digital crime, we don't really have those numbers. There's something called the FBI's NIBRS system, which is the National Incident-Based Reporting System. And that system is what categorizes different types of crimes. So it's something that I would hope that in the future that we start having conversations because we're seeing high net worth individuals becoming targets for both digital and physical crimes. Anybody? Anybody know who this guy is? No, I didn't. I'll buy lunch if anybody knows who he is. But what's that? No. So I didn't know who he was either until I started my career in law enforcement. He is one of the most famous bank robbers of all time. In the 1930s, he hit banks over $2 million, and that was over 100 years ago. He was finally caught in the 1940s. Well, then he escaped. Then he was caught again. You would see a pattern here, right? He escaped again. And then he was finally caught again. And then in 1950, he was sentenced to life in prison. And they asked, when the FBI finally grabbed him, they asked him, and they said, Willie, why do you rob banks? And he said, very simply, because that's where the money is. And when we think about Willie Sutton, right, how does that resonates today, right? Because cyber criminals and criminals as a whole now, they're going to where the money is. And imagine Willie Sutton if he was alive today and out of jail, which he might have escaped again, but imagine if he had access to these types of digital crimes, what he would have been capable of. And this is just a small, this is not an all-inclusive list, this is a small list. And when we talk about digital threats, we talk about high net worth individuals, we think about deep fakes. Julia mentioned before about virtual kidnapping, and then we talk about doxing, and then I often get, now this one's a little bit, this is a PSA from me to you. A lot of times we ask me, what is brushing? I think when a lot of you came in today, you scanned in with a QR code to get the agenda for today. Well, what we're seeing with brushing, which has been around since 2018, 2019, is online orders, and it's a way to create fake reviews for their orders to make their product look a little bit better than what it actually is. But now, they're putting QR codes on them. And those QR codes are actually sending you to a malicious website that's going to actually try to compromise your information. So just be very careful anywhere, anytime when you're scanning a QR code. So now I just want to kind of transition a little bit. We talked about digital threats. I want to move into the physical world, right? And I can tell you firsthand, there are so many challenges with trying to protect high net worth individuals. Julia had mentioned before about some of the challenges with families and how big they are and just how many different things that can go right and how many things actually go wrong when it comes to family, to high net worth individuals. But we see, right, burglary, extortion, personal attacks. One of the areas I want to really kind of focus in on is theft. Now, way back when I was far younger, and some of you may remember some of those big box stores, I don't know, Caldor. Anybody remember Caldor? Kmart, if it's still around, I think it is. But individuals would walk into these stores, they would steal merchandise, and they would walk out. They may or may not be arrested, and this would happen all over the nation. It's common, they called it shoplifting. There was actually a word for it. When we fast forward to today, there's actually large criminal enterprises, criminal gangs that are organized, and they're creating theft all over the nation to these same big box stores, well, at least the ones that are still in business, right? But the Lowe's, the Home Depots, and the Walmarts are now suffering tens of millions of dollars, which is very interesting because criminals, once again, they're learning to the money trail and they're following that money trail. And then when we look to high net worth individuals, when it comes to physical crime, I want to center on one specific crime, right? Because they're not only targeting big box stores, they're going to high net worth individuals. And when we talk about physical threats and why, first I want to just talk about how many high net worth individuals there are. 5.5 million, that's the number. 837 of those high net worth individuals in the United States are billionaires. And what's very concerning, if you see that stat to the right, 41% have been victim over the last 2 years of either a digital or a physical crime. So moving to physical crime, and there's going to be a reason why I want to talk specifically about one crime, and that's burglary. Every 26 seconds in the United States, a burglary, either a residential or a commercial establishment is broken into. And over the latest FBI numbers, 2022, there were over 847,000 burglaries. And when you look at that bottom number, 12% means those are the cases that were cleared by law enforcement. Cleared means arrested. That's the best way I can put it. So that's a very low number. When we look at different index crimes such as robbery, homicide, those numbers are much higher in the number of arrests that we're able to make. So why am I here talking about burglaries to family offices, high net worth individuals, and professional athletes? Because there's a disturbing trend that's going on nationwide in the United States right now where burglars, these organized crime organizations that I just talked about that were hitting big box stores, are now hitting the residences of professional athletes all across the nation. This is becoming a problem from New York all the way over to California. And a professional athlete, I don't want to mention any names, his home was just broken into last week. So this is ongoing. It's been a huge challenge for law enforcement. So I think everybody wants to know, well, how are they doing it? You know, what are they doing, and how are they getting into homes, right, where we think about alarm systems and all kinds of proactive measures to keep people out of these very, high-profile individuals. So let's get into it. First thing they do, right, we're talking about digital crime, physical crime. They attack digital footprint. What are they seeing that athletes are posting on their social media pages? What are they posting about their personal lives, possibly the contents of what's inside of their homes? They're getting a good layout and a good understanding of, hey, maybe they're, my beloved Knicks or my beloved Rangers are on a West Coast trip. So they're home in New York. They know exactly where the team is. Through social media, they're able to look at friends, family members, neighbors, and anybody else that's connected to that professional athlete. So they do a good social media scrub to understand exactly what's going on. Once they have all that information, they conduct physical surveillance. They go out there as delivery truck drivers. They go out there as they're pushing a stroller. Maybe they're a jogger in the neighborhood. And they're looking for a way of life, right? What's going on in that community? Where are the cameras? Does somebody have a dog? What does the neighborhood look like at night? Is it a gated community? All this information, they're actually boots on the ground seeing exactly what's going on in that specific neighborhood. As if that's not enough, then they're deploying drones up into the air to get a visual surveillance of the entire neighborhood and the specific home. They actually fly into the windows and see if they can actually spot where the valuable contents may be inside of the home. So now they're armed with aerial views of the home. They know when, where they could strike, and guess what? Then they go ahead and do it. They know when, they know where, they get in, and these aren't your normal criminals, right? Lockpicks, they get in, Wi-Fi jammers to jam the alarm system. They even wear camouflage clothing that will thwart any type of motion detector so that they can go in, get what they need. They've already done, as I said, all kinds of physical surveillance so that they know the perfect time to go in and the perfect time to get out. So knowing that we have that challenge, this is something that we're seeing with the burglary trend. And really, what I want to just kind of talk about is the first step to trying to tackle this problem is awareness. So here we are, we're talking about it, and law enforcement needs to be aware, not only on the local level, but on the state and federal level. That's happening. The media has been very involved in getting the message out. And then the families, friends, and the athletes themselves being more cognizant of what they're posting on social media, especially when it comes to things in their personal lives, their homes, and their valuables. So getting that word out and getting that awareness out has been helpful, but as I said, just last week there was another professional athlete's home that was broken into. And we're talking about digital crime, we're talking about physical crime, and unfortunately and sadly, these types of crimes can have tragic consequences. Sean Taylor was 27 years old. He played for the Washington Redskins, now the Washington Commanders. He was home with his fiance and 18-month-old daughter down in Florida when 5 individuals broke into his home, and he was subsequently shot and killed. Very, very sad case. But now we see the connections, digital to physical, to an absolute tragedy. 2007. So with this specific case, what was the intelligence? What did they know, or what did they fail to recognize in that this was Thanksgiving week, and at the time Mr. Taylor was out with an injury, so he was home. Another case we're all very familiar with, the recent murder of US healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Walking just maybe 7.5 to 8 blocks from here, where we are seated today, he's walking to a conference when he's gunned down. And then we have to ask the questions, what did the shooter know? What type of digital and physical surveillance did he do on Brian Thompson to know precisely where he was going to be, when he was going to be walking from his hotel to the conference, that he was comfortable enough to have a cup of coffee at Starbucks just prior to assassinating this corporate executive? So when we look at digital crimes, physical crimes, we have to have some type of a comprehensive strategy to combat this. And that's why I just want to talk for a few minutes about executive protection. Experts predict that this year, executive protection will become a critical board concern. Boards are talking about it, they're understanding the need for it, and executives are starting to learn the importance of what executive protection is. You know, what I think it's conversations that we need to have about the convergence of both digital and physical security, and how it's going to actually evolve, and then how it's going to change the current landscape of what executive protection actually is. When we talk about historically, corporate executives, just about any high-profile, high-net-worth individual, they have misconceptions about what executive protection is. That image is a great example of what a misconception of executive protection is. You know, it's a great example because a lot of executives think that it's only for celebrities or high-level government officials, when in reality, executive protection is for high-net-worth individuals, high-profile people, professional athletes, boards of directors, CEOs, and anybody else that feels that they have it. Because criminals, they're professionals, and they're going to target anybody with wealth or visibility. So what is executive protection, and who is it for? Well, I said who it's for, right? It could be for anybody. And what is it? It involves proactive planning, risk assessments, and intelligence gathering. And all of these things are done to reduce vulnerabilities and protect the individual, and also protect his family, and then protect his assets as well. So, that picture kind of shows what I wanted it to show. I want to thank AI for helping me out with this. There is my New York City scene. I typed it in, but I also wanted to show that it needs to, there has to be a digital proactive component for digital surveillance, and it has to be digital and physical. So one of the things, without getting into too much, what is executive protection? Well, it involves social media scrubs, intelligence gathering, site surveys, and when needed, deploying advanced teams. What's an advanced team? Advanced team will go out and survey a location prior to the arrival of the protectee to ensure his safety. If his family's there, to ensure his or her family's safety. So these are just some of the many steps that are involved in executive protection. So, we've seen how digital threats can lead to physical crimes, and I kind of want to end on a good note, and I want to go back to what I had said before. Really, awareness is the key. And throughout my career in law enforcement, when we make people aware and people become cognizant of just what their surroundings are, and we start to talk about it and we start to think about it, then we start to come up with new innovative type strategies. And we need that today because, we have extreme challenges for family-owned offices in the digital world and professional athletes, high net worth individuals in both the digital and the physical world. And when we're able to do both, we can start to solve some of these challenges in both worlds. So that's what I have. So thank you very much.